Welcome, High Floor Heroes. This is High Floor Fantasy. I'm Chad, and my goal is getting you closer to a championship. Let's have a look at the quarterback starts for this week. Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill, and the quarterback start of the week, Kirk Cousins. Cousins has green lights all the way across the board this week. He's a really great example of that weight on quarterback value. He's thrown for over 200 yards in 5 of his last 5 games and over 300 in 2 of the last 5. Don't forget to add in at least 2 passing touchdowns in 5 out of 5 as well. Cousins is remarkably consistent, and he's headed into a soft defensive matchup in Chicago. Lock him in as a strong start this week. Now we'll look at the quarterback sits for the week. Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Carson Wentz, and the quarterback sit of the week, Jared Goff. Detroit's season is over, having failed to secure a playoff spot. At this point, Goff is playing for stats only. He started strong, but injuries to key players have led to some lackluster performances. Multiple games with no touchdown passes highlight the inconsistency. The fire is gone, and Goff's matchup this week is unfavorable. He shouldn't have a place on your roster any longer. Let's move on to the starts at the running back position. James Conner, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams, Cordero Patterson, and the running back start of the week, Antonio Gibson. Gibson is coming off a down week where the game script didn't go his way. This week, he may be able to turn things around. Gibson has scored more than 20 fantasy points in 3 out of the last 5 games while not being extremely touchdown dependent. Targets and receptions in weeks 12 and 13 were respectable, showing noticeable involvement in the passing game. Although struggling a bit as of late, he's been reliable on the year. A weak defensive matchup this week locks him in as a definite start. Now we'll have a look at the running back sits. Mark Ingram, Kenneth Gainwell, Chase Edmonds, Michael Carter, and the running back sit of the week, Mike Davis. The Atlanta offense isn't exactly gangbusters, and Davis certainly isn't the number one option. Single-digit fantasy point performances in 4 out of the last 6 games won't cut it. Although Davis sees some work as a pass catcher, the lack of run volume doesn't help you. Cordero Patterson is the clear leader in Atlanta, and this limits the opportunity for Davis. Davis has actually been quite consistent for the year, less so over the past 3 weeks. A bad matchup this week, coupled with his second fiddle status, make him a sit. Always a reminder to keep your flex players out of the early week games. Watch out for those Saturday matchups this weekend. This week starts at the wide receiver position. Tyler Lockett, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Hunter Renfrow, and the wide receiver start of the week, Darnell Mooney. Mooney is coming off of a down week, but is clearly capable of putting up wide receiver 1 numbers. He'll look to get back on track this week. He's somewhat touchdown dependent, but is able to put up some double-digit performances with no touchdowns. He's over 120 receiving yards in 2 of the last 4 games. Mooney is headed into a great matchup against the soft Minnesota defense. Plug him in as an under-the-radar start this week. Now for the sits at wide receiver. DJ Moore, Tyler Boyd, Chase Claypool, Marvin Jones, and the wide receiver sit of the week, Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders is questionable as of this recording and might miss this week's action anyway. The committee situation in Buffalo hasn't helped him. A string of 5 single-digit fantasy point performances has clearly established Sanders as a wide receiver 3 or 4 option at best. Averaging less than 3 receptions per game since week 9, he's just not seeing enough work to be useful in anything but the deepest of leagues. The matchup against Carolina isn't the best. Keep Sanders out of your lineups this week. Finally, we'll look at the tight end starts for the week. Dawson Knox, Pat Freiermuth, and the tight end start of the week, Mike Gesicki. Gesicki has been a dependable option at tight end for most of the year. He's not a stud, but he can get you double-digit fantasy points at a very rarefied position. He's clearly a favorite when it comes to the passing game, seeing up to 10 receptions in a single outing. He's also good for putting those fantasy points up without being touchdown dependent, which is increasingly rare at the tight end position. Gesicki is looking at a great matchup this week and is likely to continue his dependable ways. He's a solid start at the frustrating tight end spot. This week sits at tight end, Cole Kmet, Austin Hooper, and the tight end sit of the week, Noah Fant. Fant has been trending in the wrong direction since week 6. The run-focused offense in Denver doesn't help either. He hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points since week 10. He's been very consistent over the last 3 games, just consistently bad. Fant just isn't seeing enough of a workload to be a dependable option. Keep him on the bench this week. That'll do it for this week's starts and sits. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell so you won't miss my next video, and leave a comment below. Thank you, and best of luck in all your games this week.